couple weeks ago, we had a clinic. We've been doing some field testing and a little bit of stuff for our Block 1 network and a series of clinics that we want to put on for, middle school, high school age kids to get them into lifting weights. So before we push it out into our Block 1 network and start doing these, clinics everywhere, we needed a chance to do them ourselves and to kind of figure out the flow and trials and tribulations and, price point and how we'd all do it, especially working with kids under 18. And it was cool to bring in those kids and teach that one-day lifting clinic for them and putting them through dead bugs and realizing how, because like when I say these kids are weak, I mean like weak by what standard, right? Like by my standard, of course, because they've never really lifted weights and they're still in this kind of maturation phase. I mean, they're still all kind of going through puberty, which was even more funny because the amount of voice crackings was hysterical. This kid would be like, and then, and like their voices would change octones. Oh, so funny.
Dropped right in front of you.
Dude, it was amazing to hear the voice crackings. But the kids, when we would do dead bugs, they lacked so much strength in just being able to hold a basic isometric contraction, which is funny because my daughters, like, zero problem doing it. But they go to gymnastics and they do a lot of isometric contractions, and there's a lot of holds in all their training. So it was pretty interesting to see how we couldn't even get, like, I don't even think we got off dead bug home position with those kids. We just couldn't even get them to hold their hands and feet up in an isometric contraction. Now, is that a problem? No, because they weigh like 60 pounds, 80 pounds. These kids were, maybe 100, 120, like they were small, 10, 11, 12, 13. Some kids were bigger. There was one kid that was probably about, 220 pounds. But just seeing like, hey, this isn't a problem today, but this will be a problem unless you learn how to not only create an efficient position, but get it better at isometric contractions. Because as you know, isometric contractions build stability. You don't build stability with, flexion and extension. Stability under weight comes from being able to do those isometric contractions well.
Mm-hmm. And that's not only for 13-year-olds, it's also
for 40-year-olds and 30-year-olds
40, 30, 20.
And 20. Well, we saw that in the CrossFit deal. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was never any, emphasis put on isometric contractions and, stability, which is interesting because, CrossFit comes from the roots of gymnastics and through Greg Glassman's experience as a gymnast, and they do a ton of isometric contractions and a lot of isometric holds and a lot of stability within gymnastics. But that part, there's no way to do AMRAP with isometric contractions. There's no way to fucking increase work capacity or broad time motor domains if you are in a still position.
I'm going back, I'm a loaded freight train and I'm right on track. I'm